I'm just going to throw some stuff out here. You're going to get a lot of ideas over, and you already have in the last couple of days and over the next 2 days. Digest what you can, absorb what you can. Some of it will be useful to you, some of it you won't. Sometimes it's good to write this stuff down because you may not get to it today, but then at a later date you go back and look at some notes and go, wow, yeah, I forgot about this, and you can do this, okay? But I had done this on the first day. What is that chord? C what? Technical. It's not minor. It's major, and the 7 is unaltered. It's C major 7. Could it though also be if I did play that over in A minor 7, what notes in the key of A minor do I have? C. 3 is C, right? The 3rd, the 5th, 7, and 9. So, do this for me now. Can you guys play an A minor 7 chord for me? Give me a bass note so we get a little color. I'm just playing 1, 3, 5, 7 of C, but I'm playing it over the top of the A minor. Now if I play that note and put it down here, what do we call that when I take a note off the top, put it down the bottom, or start this on another degree? An inversion. So if I play this in one of the inversions, this is the color that it has against the minor 7th chord. Sounds nice. And all I'm doing is just playing around on a C major 7. But it's no longer C major 7.
A minor 7.
It's A minor 9. With no A. So I don't get that root sound either. Okay? So now all of a sudden, if I learn all my major 7th chords, guess what? They could also become part of a minor 7th. So now I could have a formula. Any minor 7th chord I look at on any song anywhere, I could use a formula. How could I construct a formula to do what I just did to make this make sense musically? Yep. I could actually, C major and A minor are relative major and minor to each other, right? So there is part of the formula then. So if I wanted the major 7 to play over the minor 7, what's the relative minor of A? Or, sorry, the relative major of A? C. So I play the relative major 7th, over the top of the minor. Does that make sense? Am I losing some of you guys?
Yep.
I'm glad you said yep. You know what relative major minor means?
No.
Relative major minor means there's 2 scales. I'm going to give, this is a C major scale written for 1 octave, or 2 octaves, right? And I'm giving each scale note a number. So C major scale, numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is the same as 1 in the key of C. So if I go to note 6, right here, and now 6, and I play a scale from 6 up to 6 like that, A minor is now that scale. Now, so this would be 1 of A, 2, 3, 4. See, the numbers can change. Okay? But notice now this would be A minor. A minor and C major are relatives. They're related because they both have no sharps and no flats in the key signature.
Okay.
That make sense? So for every major scale, there's a relative minor that matches its key signatures.
Oh, okay.
And the formula is, if I start on a major scale and I go to the 6th note of the major scale, that's the root of my relative minor for that key signature. So let's do a quick exercise outside of the key of C. Let's go to the key of G. What would be the relative minor of G major? Well, I go to the 6th note of the G major scale. G, A, B, C, D, E. So E minor and G major will both have 1 sharp in the key signature. So they are relative major and minor. Got it?
Yeah.
Let's do one more key. Let's do E flat major. What's relative minor to E flat major? So I go to the sixth note of the E flat. Right, E flat F, G, A flat, B flat, C minor, E flat major. Both have three flats in the key signature. Does that make sense? That's the alternate formula. So now back to this then. That's what I'm using here. If I can think of the sixth note being minor, the major, and then the minor, well then I just have to do it backwards to get to the major, or go up to the third note. From A minor to B to C gives me my relative major, so I can work in both directions. So back to this formula now. Any minor seventh chord I'm looking at, I can play the major seventh of its relative major. So, that being said, let's do one outside of the key here. Let's go to the key of G minor. G minor. What's the relative major to G minor? B flat major. So I would play the B flat major 7 over the top of the G minor chord. So here's what we're going to do. Everybody play, figure out the notes of your B flat major 7th chord. So concert key I'm talking, so do your transpositions. Altos, your G major 7, right? Do it this way. Put the 7th of the chord on the bottom, then the root, then the 3rd, then the 5th. So alto saxes, you're going to start on what note? Your 7th F sharp. Trumpets and tenors, you're going to start on the B, on the 7th. Here's what I want you to do. Okay, play that with me. 1 and 2 and 3 and go. One more time. 2, 3, go. Yep. Now let me say one other thing about doing this. Even if I were playing that over a B flat major 7th chord, what happens when I start this chord? What does it do to your ear when I start and end this chord on the 7th instead of the root? Make you think it's a different key? You feel that? Sounds kind of weird. You know what though? This is what you need to start doing to teach yourself to get away from as I mentioned to the guys in the combo last time, we don't want to always end everything on the root and start everything on the root, especially in musical composition, whether it's jazz composition or classical or any style, it doesn't matter. You save the ending on the root for the last note of the piece or something. It's nice you practice your major 7ths, starting and ending on the 7th. You teach your ear to get away from the normal resolution that your ear wants to hear because of your training and how you're raised with music. These things kind of more unresolved state has a nicer floating kind of a feel to it, okay? But now what we're going to do is we're going to play this up and down. Let's do that. It'll sound like... And on 7. Do that together with me. 1, 2, 3, and... Major 7th concert, you're starting on the 7th and going up to the 7th and back down to the 7th. 1, 2, 3, go. Play your G minor 7th chord in your left hand. You're going to play this arpeggio that we just did in your right hand. You can back up the chord, and one bass player give us the note G and just give us some pedal G's up and down, and then the rest of the bass players can play this with us, this exercise. Okay? Here we go. I want 4 beats of the chord, so 1, 2, we'll play the chord, hold it for 4, then you play play it again, and then we'll play over the top of it. We'll have a bar of chord and a bar of everyone playing. Just to get your ear grounded and get you used to hearing the sound. A low tempo will do it again. So chord, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. Ready? Major 7th arpeggio over the top of a G minor 7th. So here's a formula that you can now apply this formula to any minor 7th key that you're looking at. Let's go to a different key and do it in a different key now. Let's pick, what do we do? B flat, let's go to a sharp key. Let's go to 2 sharps concert. So this is going to make our wind players do some serious thinking. No, we're going to do a D major 7th arpeggio concert. So it's B major 7th for the altos, E major 7th for the B flat folks. Okay? E major 7th. Here we go. Yep. A sharp, starting on C sharp. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, and. Okay, one more time. 2, 3, and. Okay, now, let's have walk B minor, play B minor 7, B, D, F sharp, A. Give us 4 beats of 6 bars of walking, and then we'll play 2 bars. You just walk B minor 7 for a bit. Here we are. We'll have some chord for a moment, and then we'll play the arpeggio. 1, 2, 4, walk. 1, 2, 3, and. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Simple concept, and I always do it with everybody. What do we just do? Do it backwards or upside down or whatever. Anytime you play something one way, immediately, what happens if I play it backwards? What happens if I play it upside down? Well, memorizing is good, but the point is I'm looking at how to make variations on something. That's part of creative thinking, right? Taking a set of materials and saying, well, I got this set of notes. Well, what happens if I do this? Or what happens if I do that? Or that? Or that? Or that? What's the most important thing I'm saying? What happens if? Fill in the blank. See what I'm saying? It's a thinking process. I'm thinking. What happens if? Even on your soloing on your drum kit, I solo this way, I solo that way. Ask yourself, well, what happens if? You fill in the blank. Then you have to do it. Because now you've asked the question. Now you have to answer your own question. You create the question. You create the answers. Someone else I was talking with one time, like learning to solo and play, like making up your own game with your own set of rules, creating your own problem, getting yourself back into a corner, and then figuring out how to get out of it. And you do all that all by yourself. You make the game up, make the rules up, back yourself into a corner, and then figure out how to get out of it. And that's not really too far off of how you're thinking, because once your tune is rolling, you're playing, you're on your own to create your own set of problems. And they're uniquely yours, no matter who you are and what you're doing.